Hey there, all you cool cats and kittens. Welcome to episode 2 of Whip It Up with Will. Today, we're going to be making the sauce. We're taking it back to the motherland, and I'm going to show you guys how to make a homemade marinara sauce. Now, there's not as many steps in this as the chili that I did last week, okay? But like the chili, we're going to need a big pot. You're going to cook this low and slow for a long period of time, which is awesome because the whole day, you're gonna have a house that smells like your mama's house. So that's what we're gonna do today. Only need a couple things for this. So we got a big pot on. I just turned that on. We got 3 big cans of tomatoes. I like to use the San Marzano tomatoes. So we got those 3 tomatoes ready to go. You're gonna have a big colander. Okay, that means a bowl with holes in it. We've got some fresh onions. I chopped up 2 onions. We got some fresh basil. We got some garlic over here. I got some chopped garlic, also some thinly sliced garlic, and I got some whole basil. I'll show you when all those things go in. And then we're going to need a couple other seasonings, and I'll show those as we go on. So first things first, you're going to get your pot nice and hot. And then you're going to take your olive oil. Again, you want to make sure you're putting enough to coat the whole bottom. You don't want to see any spots where there isn't olive oil. And everybody in the pool. So, first step is we cook down the onions. Okay, again, we're going to keep this nice and low. I just had the pot on high to get it hot. We're going to cook these onions down nice and slow until they get translucent. Again, you don't put the garlic in until later, because garlic will burn, but we are going to put the garlic in a little bit sooner. First things first, we got to get these onions nice and translucent. Okay, so once we start getting the onions a little bit more translucent, you want to get it right before they start turning brown. If they start turning brown, then you've gone a little too far. So now we can add a little bit of the garlic. Here I've got like 3 or 4 cloves of garlic, big cloves, chopped up. Just gonna dump those in right there. Give that a stir. We'll let this cook down just for a little bit because, like I said, the garlic burns very quickly. So we're just going to let it cook down with onions for a minute, and then we're going to do a little bit of we're going to add a little bit of wine to deglaze it and add a little bit of wine flavor to the onions and garlic. Makes it taste really nice. And then we're going to start doing the actual sauce, okay? Also, thank you to everyone, including my family, that gave me feedback that last video I looked like Bob from Bob's Burgers. Definitely hurt my feelings, so thank you so much for that. And the other half of my family that didn't even watch it at all, so thank you. Everyone, really appreciate it. Okay. So, got the onions, we got the garlic, cook it down. I like to use a dry wine as opposed to a sweet wine because you don't want, you don't want to add too much sugar because there's already a lot of sugar in like the tomatoes and those things. So I like to use a dry wine. Okay. It's gonna start smelling really good now. Definitely want to keep stirring it because you don't want the onions or garlic to get stuck to the bottom. But now once you got this going, it's going to start cooking down, which is perfect time to start doing the actual sauce. So, take the colander, and if you can, put it over. If not, you can do it in a big bowl separately. The key with making fresh marinara sauce is you have to hand crush the tomatoes, okay? Take your wedding ring off so you don't end up getting an accidental divorce. Just gonna pour tomatoes on top. Okay, go 1 can at a time. Roll up your sleeves a little bit. Come on in. There we go. And you're just gonna start crushing. Now, don't start going like crazy with it, because if you start crushing aggressively, it's gonna go everywhere. These things are primed to explode. That was just a little bit of pressure, okay? So you want to get your hands in there, just start really crushing those tomatoes. It's gonna release a lot of that juice. Okay. And I'm only going to show you this for this one, and then I'll do the rest off camera, because what I want you to do next is, once you like really crush these up good, get as much juice going through there, keep mixing it up so the juice really gets through those holes and gets out of the tomatoes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this tomato, because we're not done with this yet, okay? We're going to take this. Okay. We're going to go back to this can. Put it back in the can. Okay. And then we're going to repeat, keep putting all the tomatoes back. Just put them all in one can, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with them next. Okay, so we've got all the sauce in here now. Unfortunately, right now it's just tomato soup. Okay, so we actually want to make a sauce. There's actually going to be some tomatoes in there. So now let me show you what we're going to do next. So come on in. So I took all the actual tomatoes that I crushed up and I put them back in this can. Now we're going to use one of my favorite tools, which is called a immersion blender. You can use a regular blender if you have, but if you have an immersion blender, it's way better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of mash up these tomatoes a little bit, because there's still a lot of juice in there. And also, I don't like big chunks of giant tomatoes in my sauce. So you know, we're not making a puree, but we are breaking up the tomatoes a little bit more. That's why we squeeze the tomatoes first and get the juice out, and then we take this part and we blend it up a little bit so we get the fresh tomato juice for the sauce, and now we get you know, better broken up tomatoes, because there's still a lot of juice in there, and we get some actual tomato in there. So this. Now this part you can do to taste how, you know, tomatoey you want your, or how like chunky you want your sauce. I like to have a nice balance. You know, I don't want it to be like tomato soup, but I also don't want it to be tomato paste either. So you gotta find that balance. Do a little bit more. Looking good. Next thing what we're going to do is we're going to start seasoning it a little bit. So first thing is I have a couple pieces of basil here that I chopped up nice and fine. Sprinkle those in there. Okay. Take some fresh pepper. Fresh salt, and this you can like adjust to taste as you go. You want to get some in there now, and then you're gonna grab some Italian seasoning. You can be pretty liberal with this, but you know, don't dump the whole thing in. Again, this one you can like adjust as you go. This is something you're gonna be like cooking all day, so you can play around with it a little bit. I like to add a little bit extra garlic powder in there. That's pretty much it. I also have a couple cloves of garlic that I just sliced really thin. I feel like it adds a really nice flavor, just some cloves of garlic, just really thinly sliced, just floating in there. Just want to get those in. throw them around, and then we're gonna take our spoon, stir that around. And now we're gonna let it start cooking. Last thing I do is I take a couple extra pieces of basil and just let them float on top. Okay? Now, you never want to boil this. A couple bubbles coming up is fine, but really we're just simmering this really low for a couple hours. And we'll check back in on this later. Alright, we're going to do a little quick check-in on the sauce. It's looking good, not boiling. I got it nice and low. You should start to smell the sauce. If you get in there really close and listen, you can hear Dean Martin singing. Do you hear that? That's amore. That's how you know it's doing good. Additional little pro tip, if you're tasting your sauce and you're cooking as you go and you want to add a little bit more salt, one thing you can do is you can add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. That's something I like to do. Adds a little bit of flavor, not just a saltiness. You don't want to do too much, so just a little sprinkling and stir that in. Add a little bit more robustness to the sauce. Mamma mia! Alright, we're doing good. It's been a couple hours now. Started this about 10. It's important that you keep stirring, throughout the day. Just come in, give it a stir, give it a little taste. We're doing real good. Couple notes. If you call it gravy, you're gonna want to do one more thing. Just stick your head straight in the pot. It's gonna burn for a little bit, but just keep it in there, and just wait. Alright, we're almost done here in terms of instructions for the video. Just gonna want to let this cook as long as you can today. Then when you're done, you can portion it out. I like to portion out servings for 2 because Sam and I are just 2. And then you can freeze those. You should have a good chunk of portions. But last thing I wanted to teach you was my secret ingredient. So get in close. I don't want anyone else to hear. You ready? The secret ingredient is... What's that noise? What could that be? Oh, that's a little bit of the red wine. Mamma mia. Now I like to use a nice Cabernet or a Merlot. Either one will do. But yeah, I like to give it a little bit extra flavor right from the Buddha, Italy. So, abbondanza, mamma mia, and spaghetti. What up, nerds? If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button. Hit subscribe to all 2 of my videos. There'll be more in the future. Coming up later this week, we're gonna make some barbacoa. So buckle up. Catch you all on the flippity flip. Blah.